Good morning. Today we're going over a footwork and balance drill that, again, what I do with the students at the club. It was more challenging than I expected, so I figured it was worth sharing with everybody to see if it was something helpful. So the two main goals with this drill are really focused on driving from the ground through the balls of the feet rather than that falling and catching walking style of footwork, and kind of being in control of your body, having ownership of every part of the movement. So I think it's really important that we touch a little bit more detail on the actual driving portion. So if we're in our stance, pretty natural stance, the weight should be a little bit more on the balls of the feet. And the way I have students practice is we practice pushing off the ball of the foot, flexing the back ankle to drive us forward, as opposed to collapsing the front knee. So that's kind of a falling and weight shift, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to push off the back foot. So you should feel your ankle flex, you should feel the ball of your feet really driving into the ground. That's really important. You can see that starts to shift my weight forward. So really focus on that ball of the foot, ankle arch drive. So again, like I say, if you do this for a long time, the arches of your feet, your calves should get sore, not the big muscles. So we drive forward, pushing with the ball of the foot through the ground in the back, and then to shift the weight back. Again, we don't collapse the back knee, we actually flex and push off the ball of the foot on the front foot now. So again, if we do this for 20 minutes, the arches of our feet and our calves should get sore, not the big muscles. So if you're watching yourself in the mirror, watch out for that collapse, either forward or back. That's not really what we're trying to do right now. And watch out for the hip swaying side to side. You should be pretty stable in your position, and it really comes from the very bottom. I want you to think of your movement coming from the ground up. And as long as we can do that, that's going to be really important. So if you just practice that to get a feel of it, it's not the drill itself, but it's a good kind of foundational movement, kind of stepping stone to build off of that. Once you feel like you know what that's going to feel like, the actual drill is really just doing passing steps very, very slowly. And so what we're going to do is we're going to practice doing this passing forward step. That's the one foot going in front of the other. But you still want to think that it's going to start off the back foot, again with that pushing, not the collapsing. And so we're gonna start with the push, and as you can see, as I push, I'm allowing my center to turn a little bit. So I'm kind of getting a lengthening of this whole back foot, but again, this is starting from the floor. So this is shifting my weight forward, this is letting my hips go from slightly more bladed to slightly square as I'm transitioning through my movement. And what we really want to do is do this as slow as we can. So I'm gonna flex the back foot. I'm going to feel my weight shifting, my torso turning a little bit, and then I'm going to come off of the back foot as slowly as I can. And I want to do this as slowly and in control. And what's interesting is if I turn sideways a little bit, if you look, I'm now on the ball of the foot on the left foot. I'm not heel weighted. So even though I'm doing this very slow, flexing the back foot, allowing my torso to turn, now my weight's transitioning more onto that left foot. When I come off of it, I'm not heavy on the heel, that's very clunky. So we want a nice flow onto the ball of the foot, coming off. And I should be able to do this very in control, very slow. I'm not saying you should bounce, but I should be able to bounce because the weight is still on the ball of now the left foot. And then even when I'm stepping out, I don't want to fall. I want to see how slowly and carefully I can put now this foot down. So now I'm landing on the ball of the foot. So it's not a heavy heel strike. That's gonna encourage a fall. So we're still putting the ball of the foot down, and then we're allowing everything to settle. And now we should be back in our stance with the right foot in front. So if I do this facing you, again, starting with the flexing of the back foot, allowing the weight to shift and the torso to turn from slightly bladed to slightly more centered. I'm feeling still on the ball of the foot, letting my weight shift. I'm coming off the ground very slowly, and I'm placing again the ball of the foot, not the heel, which means I can abort if I need to. So see how I'm gonna place and then commit, and then I settle. Let me back up a little bit. And so now we're gonna do that whole situation again, the whole thing. I'm flexing the left foot, allowing it to shift the weight, let my torso turn from slightly more bladed to slightly more center, coming off the ground. Again, I could bounce up and down on the right foot because my weight is on the ball of the foot, not the heel. I'm gonna place. I could leave if I want to, but I'm gonna place and then commit and settle. And then we're just gonna keep doing that, shifting, picking up very slowly. If I fall, I wanna go back and try again. So this is all about driving from the floor and being in control the whole time. Very slowly. And you can let the front foot, as I'm flexing the back foot, I tend to let the front foot turn just a little bit as my torso is also going more towards square, but it's happening again on the ball of the foot. We really never grind on the heel. Coming forward. See my foot, I'm bouncing, everything is in control. Settle, everything's good. Settle into my stance, commit. So let me do this sideways a little bit so hopefully you can see it. Flex, letting everything turn. I'm shifting through the weight. Nice and slow. Again, I'm not falling, I'm placing. So I could leave if I don't like what's going on, but again, weight's on the ball of that left foot. And then settle. And even doing this all the time, the arches of my feet are starting to burn a little bit. That's a good sign. Really shouldn't be the butt or the quads. Flexing and turn. Picking up. Settle. Yeah. The nice thing is that means also when we're talking, if we're throwing shots in movement, if I'm driving from the back foot, I can use the same motion to throw a shot. If I'm driving with the back foot, I can use the same motion to let the front foot slide and throw a shot moving forward. And with the transition, I can also power and power because I'm driving off of both feet as I go through this step. That's why it's important that we don't fall and commit, because if I'm doing a fall and catch, it's really hard to drive any power off the ground. My upper body is disconnected from the ground and we're trying to stay connected to the ground. So this kind of drive motion lets me kind of throw a shot from wherever in my movement pattern I am and still have a connection to the ground, which is going to be really important. So one more time going forward, and then we're going to talk about it going backwards. So shift, I'm letting that flex, that from the ground, that ball of the foot, shift everything forward. I like to let that front foot turn out a little bit. Pick up off the ground very slowly. I can bounce if I want to because I'm still on this ball of the foot. Gonna touch, everything's good. Settle and commit. Flex, pick up off the ground. Maybe check and make sure I can still bounce if I want. Settle, everything's good, I can commit. Remember, we want the ability to step back, like, oh shit, that was a bad thing. But everything's going well, so we're gonna settle. So going backwards, it's pretty much the same thing. So now the movement starts with the front foot, because again, we're not collapsing the back knee, we're flexing the front foot to start this motion going, because I want to be able to take my body away instantly, which is why we don't do that reach thing. So I'm gonna flex the front foot, I'm just gonna start to shift my weight back, and pick up off the ground. I could bounce if I wanted to, touch, and again, I could come back. So I'm not falling, I'm touching, and then if everything's good, I settle my weight. Start the motion with the front foot, pushing, stepping back, could bounce if I want to, settle and commit. So doing this really slow, it's very hard. It's very challenging. It challenges your muscles, it challenges your balance, but it basically lets you make sure that you are the boss the entire time through your motion. We don't want to be in places where gravity is the boss and we are not. We always want to be in control. So of course you're not going to step this slowly and things are going to happen a little bit more smoothly at speed, but we want to make sure that we're moving through our steps in a way where we always have the ability to be the boss and make changes, and we don't really want to have that big heavy heel strike either. So what we do in the club is we will practice this very slow step and very slow step, and then going backwards very slow step, very slow step. You want to make it even more challenging, or you just want to slow it down even further and make sure that you are really being the boss, we will do a 3-touch movement pattern where we'll do our flex, we'll shift our weight, and we'll actually come 1, 2, 3, just touches, I'm not shifting the weight, and then step and settle. And I'll flex, 1, 2, 3, step and settle. Just to make sure that we are really in balance the entire time. So play with this. I think that it will be definitely challenging. It seems to be for most of the people in the club. Hopefully useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message. We'll go through something a little bit different next week, and then as we roll into June, the requests I've gotten seem to be very ring X oriented, so we might start working our way through ring X gloss as Pell drills. Things are also starting to open up, so that's exciting, but that's kind of the plan for at least the next little bit, is we'll do some more fundamental stuff, and then we'll jump into ring X gloss starting in June, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks a lot.